Welcome, KasKnight people. Welcome, man. It's gonna be a good one, y'all. It's gonna be a good one. Start with some music. Welcome. Welcome to the KasKnight channel, man. All right. I got some good stuff for you today. Yeah, man. It's some Bitcoin, right? Homies get no back.
It's a rap now. KasKnight rapping. I'ma show you where we at now. Dag rabbit flowing with the track that be blowing like a gat. Why strap, fam? Crap happens where we at. So here's the flow, here we go, yo. Warren Rabbit with the glasses. Follow the white trash, little rabbit. Here to educate the masses. Only spit the facts, man, and block dags. Simply where the future's at. Fam, so get the stacking cash. Fam, every single day and every way that we can think to make it happen. Block dagging Kaspa.
Check me out on X, right?
Holy moly, holy what? Holy effing crap, man. Kaspa's like a really
KasKnight
man. Ever saw it coming, nah, bruh. Never knew this crazy shit could happen. Little Warren Rabbit in the mask. Vigilante black leather pants. Cold, and it be going with the flow. Wait, whoa, what the F is that, man? Man, is that the effing Batman symbol? Nah, man, that ain't Batman. That's a rabbit with a mask.
Series was dropping right here.
KasKnight signal. Whoa, man, and who's that with them? Guardians of the Dag, man. Holy effing crap, man. The hell with effing Batman.
Yeah, man. Bitcoin making moves.
Kas woman, KasKnight.
Ethereum's making moves.
Coming with the smash, fam. Dag Knight, putting Kas on the crypto map, man. Yeah, we did it in the flash, man. Block taking on the fast track. And we ain't ever looking back. It's a rap.
Yeah, man. Digital assets. If you ain't messing with digital assets right now, man, you're just behind, right? You're behind, right? So welcome in, y'all. Right. So I will look at the market real quick, right, this morning because some exciting stuff going on, right? It's the weekend. Usually, some shenanigans goes on during the weekend, right? Why would this be any different, right? Here we go. Bitcoin's at $65,088 as we speak, making moves on the 4-hour chart, right? We've been making higher highs and higher lows on this 4-hour chart. We broke structure, right? Right. This little downtrend that we had going on here, that's been broken, right? I showed you guys this stuff last night. We'll just do a quick update before I get into what I got in my little bag of tricks that I got ready for you guys, right? For the whole space, right? I'm excited. I'm so excited, right? I wasn't sure I was gonna tell anybody about it yet. But I'm like, F that. I'll just give you guys the basic idea. I'm not going to reveal all my secrets and ins and outs before I build the whole thing, right? But I'm already started, right? I already started building, right? I don't got MVP 1 yet, right? It was minimum viable product means I could just show you how it works, right? I will, though. It ain't going to take me long, bro. I'm very passionate about this stuff. I'm already recruiting people, right? I got an AI friend on the team, right? I got some tech guys so I work with that that we're gonna do some stuff on the side, maybe, hopefully. Shout out to all you guys out there. Shout out to Sean Warren, right? The guy helped me do the founder video. Really good friend of mine, and I think he can help me help you guys and take some of the friction away from this crypto space, right? Because that's why I ran into some problems, right? And I said, F that, let's fix that problem, right? Right? Am I capable of doing it? Let's ask ChatGPT. This is the problem, right? And anyway, let's do a market overview and we'll get into that, right? So Bitcoin's at 65,000, right? Let's swoop into the 1-hour chart. Let's even swoop in a little further, right? So that's how you get savage entries, right? So if I was going to swing trade this, right? Honestly, you could probably put in a trade right now. I mean, you're not getting the perfect, right? The perfect buy-in would have been when this little wick capped this little, you already know, this teal line. I swear by this teal line, and even the purple line above it, when it's even more bullish, it won't even hit this teal line. It'll just hit this one and keep going, right? But basically, it rides this teal line and this purple line up, and sometimes it'll fake out, go under it. Look, under here, it went under this gold line. It scared everybody, right? It was rejecting it there for a minute, and then it just reclaimed it, and now it's going back up again, right? This is a low time frame, right? This is a 1-hour chart. So each one of these candles takes 1 hour to form, right? So on the 4-hour chart, right, it would take 4 of these to make one 4-hour candle, right? 24 to make one daily candle, right? So what happens within the daily candle, right? Right? So, I feel like I can't show this part enough, right? And you don't have to do a box, right? I could just literally I could take this and I could draw a circle around this right here, right? That's kind of willy-nilly, and then, right? But that's one daily candle, right? One daily candle, right? Let's see if I can move that to where it's like, all right, so one daily candle. Should I redraw it? Let me redraw that. That was janky, right? Dang it. I can't get the bottom right. Hold on. All right, close enough, right? So we got a circle around the daily candle, right? Try not to get nothing else in there so it doesn't like mess it up, right? And then you go to the 1 hour chart, right? And in theory, there's 24 candles inside there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4. Why is there always extra ones? I wonder why it does that. Like, what the frick? Why is that? Is it because of this? Because I overlap this part right here, and just that little bit of space to the left of the candle adds. It has to be right because it's a 24-hour candle. So the space in between this 24-hour and the candle, that 24 hours, gets a few hours, right? That's weird, man. But basically, it takes 24 of those 1 hour candles to make one of these motherfuckers, right? Price still moves from here to here, right? But it shows you more intricate detail, right? Zooming in and out, so on and so forth, right? But anyway, it's currently consolidating after the breakout, right? Like I always say, yeah, why I can't ever. My pointing tools keep disappearing on me. I'm sorry, guys. Like I'm trying to point stuff, right? So look, so we'll break out, right? That's a nice little breakout. And then, you know, pull back, right? Even a big pullback all the way to this gold line, the scary 50 exponential moving average, right? Scared the crap out of everybody, but it still held right above that blue dotted line, right? And then now it keeps consolidating. The way it's consolidating, what does it have? More volume or less volume than this move right here? Less, right? That's bullish, right? That means it's cooling off before it decides if it's going to keep going, right? So, look out for that. It's not a guaranteed shoe in lock or nothing like that, right? I'm not telling you it has to go up, but I'm saying it looks like it's more likely to go up than it is to go down, right? We're already starting to get more volume, right? We're already starting to get more volume in this one candle that's forming right now, right? All right, let's go back to the 4 hour. I don't want to be too zoomed in the whole time, right? All right, so now let's look at Ethereum, right? Everybody wants to know what's going on with Ethereum. What's Ethereum doing? Well, Ethereum's breaking out too, right? On the 4 hour, right? Even on the daily, I think a little bit, right? Well, on the daily, it's trying, right? And if it beats this purple line, it already beat the dashed one, right? Meaning if it closes above it, right? Look at how all these things are coiling, right? This is the 200 EMA, right? It just crossed the 100. No, it's the 200 SMA, just crossed the 100 EMA, right? And then this one, just the 21 and the 9 EMA just crossed the 50 EMA. So all these things are making moves, right? While price action is consolidating with lackluster volume and sometimes kind of okay volume, right? So how do you interpret it that, right? Or you interpret that as like maybe something could be happening. I know people hate shit like that, right? But when you zoom in, right, a little bit more going on, right? You can be a little bit more confident. You're like, okay, well, it is reclaiming moving averages and building momentum and having volume on the upsides and not the downsides on the lower time frames, and that usually translates over to higher time frames if the move is sustained, right? So yeah, so that's that, right? What is versus Bitcoin even, right? Remember I was showing you this? It was breaking out versus Bitcoin on the daily, right? Let's see how that panned out, right? It's still above that moving average, right? If it stays above this crimson line right here and this green dash line, those are 200 green, 200 simple moving average, crimson, right? 200 exponential moving average, right? And then this blue dotted one, that's just like the quick swing trade in and out. That's for like entries basically, right? But the point is this thing broke above it, rejected, right? And then back, and then went for another shot, rejection, back, third attempt, boom, third time's a charm. Now we're in a bull flag, right? We're flagging out. Up, down, a little bit more down than up, right? But temporarily, right? So in theory, one of these candles, right, that's coming up soon is going to grow the volume, right? The volume should get bigger like it did over here, right? Start expanding, right? Along with price action. Except for this time, it doesn't have to blast through a moving average that's been giving us hell for a while or above it, right? What was once resistance, bong, 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 is now support, right? One, two, three daily candles, right? Right now, this is the third daily candle held above this. And then it held a few of these under it and then faked us out for two candles and then back above it, right? That's how crypto does. It shakes your ass out. Half the people that had put their whole positions as soon as it went back under here and closed below it and rejected that little candle underneath, they're like, all right, I'm out. Screw that. We're gonna go back down, right? And then they're like, ha, sucker, right? Volume on this volume on the new breakout. That stuff drives people crazy, right? So that's where conviction comes in, right? That's where conviction comes in. Little moves like that where you're like, F that. I'm not letting him shake me out. I'm gonna put my stop loss underneath these moving averages. Now, if you lose those, I'm out. Right? So, all right, let's look at BitTets Tau. BitTets Tau still under 200 bucks. Barely, bro. You ain't gonna have much more time to buy this under $200, bro. I'm just saying, in my opinion, right? There's no volume right this very second, right? But these ones that broke above the two, it's playing with us, right? Look, that those ones, those four right there, right? These last few breakout attempts have attempted to have enough volume to do it. Well, again, what's volume participants in the move, right? How many people are buying and selling, right? If there's more buyers and sellers, this will be a green candle, and this volume will, well, just correlate by how many participants, right? But anyway, yeah, 199. Well, wait, no. Yeah, 199, right? 199, right? That's so it's gonna be over 200 soon, in my opinion. Unless it just rejects from here and it goes for another leg down. We'll see, right? What's oil doing, right? Oil ain't doing shit, dude. No, right? It's just consolidating, right? We'll see what happens with this Iran thing, right? Gold, right? Some people are like, just put it in gold, man. I don't know. I'm not a fan, right? But some people like gold, $4,390. There you go, right? All right, so now f this, right? Let's get into the stuff I want to talk about. So, look, when I launched KasKnight, I ran into a problem, right? I ran into several problems. Let's be real, but one of the main problems was an extraction problem, right? Enter Nilla Gorilla Bridge, right? It's really not a bridge, it's a crypto access and safety DApp, decentralized application, right? I'm building this right now, and I'm reaching out to people to help me out, but I'm building the bones of this right now. Because when I launched KasKnight, right, I had a whole bazillion people that wanted to support me, right? My wife, my friends, coworkers, family. They're like, hell yeah, we're proud of you. You got out of prison and changed your whole life. And I'm like, all right, well, I launched cryptocurrency. You should buy it. Well, it's not like they could just buy it, right? They had a whole bunch of problems, right, trying to do that. So they're like, just teach me later and we'll figure it out. That never happened, right? Launchpad went down. Now I got to relaunch. And I was like, dang, if I'd have got past the bonding curve, I'd be listed on the DEX and I wouldn't have to relaunch, right? All right, so Nilla Gorilla, crypto access and safety DApp, right? Tell Nilla what you want. Let the system find the route, let the guardians check the risk, and you approve the transaction, right? That's important, right? I'm never controlling your crypto. I just look stuff up for you and say, you want me to help still? Push this button, right? All right. You approve the transaction, right? The DAG powers everything, right? I don't take away the security of the block DAG, right? I'm not trying to, take that away from you in the midst of a transaction, right? That, right? I'm not responsible for that. For you, ape, just ask Nilla, right? So, like, your cousin launches a crypto, KasKnight launches a crypto. You watch some videos, you're like, man, this dude's freaking cool, right? He's making comics, rap, right? He's freaking doing the most. This is the coolest cast channel ever, right? You want to buy some, right? Well, before you ape, you ask Nilla, right? All right, so we're building a crypto abstraction layer to help normal people discover, vet, and acquire digital assets without needing to understand all of the complex infrastructure underneath, right? You tell Nilla, right? You put a little text, you pull it up, right? It's a little app, right? You pull it up, right? You got Vanilla Illa, what's up, right? All right, Vanilla Gorilla finds the route, right? Smart routing across the DAG and beyond, right? Guardians, check the risk, multi-list rare scoring, right? We'll get into that. That's the AI agent I already have on Kaspa agent, right? I gotta tweak it. So, but if you go on KASPAGENT, Kaspa agent right now, there's one called Kaspa due diligence, right? That's mine. That's KasKnight's project, right? And it's gonna be part of this, right? Going to be the part that vets to make sure you're not buying a shitcoin because your buddy fucking launched a shitcoin, right? It's going to check the tokenomics, whether the contract's locked, fucking, all that, right? Excuse my language, right? I'm working on that, right? I was in prison for a long time. I'm trying not to cuss so much, right? All right, you approve though, right? Transparent preview, you're in control, right? And then we execute securely, right? We make sure that we use the safest route, right? So, so far, so good, right? This is freaking awesome, right? So, what's the problem I'm trying to solve, right? Well, I kind of explained it a little bit, but launching a token is a challenge already, right? Like I just love Kaspa. I learned technical analysis. I was like, man, block dag thing looks like it's gonna be the way to go, right? I've been studying. I read the stuff. I read stuff Michael Sutton puts out and Jonathan Sompolinsky, and I learned about how they're programming money. And right now, you use a UTXO model, and now instead of just doing it the normal Bitcoin way, we're gonna add some rules with covenants and all this stuff's fascinating to me, right? So I launched my own token, right? But crypto is too complicated for ordinary people, right? Right. My mom couldn't buy none. She wanted to, right? Getting normal people to actually buy it is a problem, right? The friction ain't the desire, right? It's not desire, right? Desire is not the problem. That's not what's the roadblock. It's not causing the friction, right? Their desire to support me and buy some KasKnight tokens. No, complexity, right? So what do you mean by that, right? This is the current journey, also known as the obstacle, right? Obstacle course, right? This is what you got to go through if you want to buy KasKnight, right? This is when I told my uncle, hey, you should go buy some KasKnight. He's like, okay, show me how to do it, right? Okay, first you got to download a wallet, right? Casware or whatever. That's my favorite, right? So far. Right, and you got to save the seed phrase. This is where, heck, man, this gets everybody right. So, like, I got a book right here, right? This is where I keep some seed phrases and stuff like that. I put it in a safe, right? Just in case, right? Something happens to fire through safe, shit like that, right? But you got to do that, right? That's intimidating to some people, just so you know. Like, some people look at that like, oh shit. So if I lose the seed phrase, I'll lose my money. Well, if you lose your seed phrase and access to your wallet, you would lose your money. All right. But anyway, then right. So you download the wallet, right? All right, you save the seed phrase and then you buy Kaspa. How do you do that? You go on Coinbase or Uphold or Kraken if you're in America, right? Those are the three, right, that I know of, right? Centralized exchanges, right? Uh, they're too big to fail type of shit, right? In theory, right? So you buy the Kaspa, right? So let's say they go on there, they go on Coinbase, or actually Coinbase doesn't even sell it yet, right? So Uphold, right? You want Uphold and you KYC, which means know your customer, you prove you're you, right? I'm gonna send a freaking verification code to your email address, yada yada yada, right? And then so you do that, right? So then you connect your bank account, right? Which some people who are not in crypto are going to be skeptical about, but you're gonna have to do that no matter how you go, right? You're gonna have to use something to pay for, right? Right. So anyway, you buy the Caspa, right? You figured it out, right? You're on Uphold, you got some Caspa, right? Now you got to send that Caspa from that centralized exchange to your new Casware wallet or whatever cold wallet you downloaded, right? Course, there's a step in between, though. By the way, I skipped on this diagram right here where you gotta wait, right? If you buy an Uphold right now, they won't let you move it for 72 hours before you can move it to your Casware wallet, right? So they're like, ah, shit. Well, hopefully, Cas9 doesn't quadruple in price because it just launched, right? Right. So anyway, so you wait the 3 days, right? And then you send it to your wallet, right? If you can figure that out, right? And then you connect to a launch pad in the DEX, right? Right? You connect that crypto wallet. You just figured it out, right? Then you got to find the KasKnight token or whatever token you're trying to buy, right? Bitcoin maxi tiers and stuff like that, right? You find it, you grab it up, right? You're like, these dudes are freaking cool. They've been building all kind of cool stuff. Let's buy some of that, right? And then make sure there's not a fake one, right? I don't know if there's any freaking fake KasKnight tokens out there. There better not be, man. I've been to prison, motherfuckers. You don't want to mess with me. I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding, but don't mess with me, dude. Don't be making those scammer KasKnight tokens, motherfuckers, right? But anyway, then you approve the transaction, right? Swap it, and then bam, you got KasKnight on your wallet that you really don't know how to use, right? So your family says, all right, yeah, you know what, show me how to do that sometime. But often they never end up doing it, right? Because, that's too much. Wallet, C phrase, bypass, and like, too many steps, right? F that. I ain't learning. I'm trying to learn how to I ain't trying to solve a Rubik's Cube just to fucking buy $100 of your crypto. I love you, cousin. I love you, whatever. And I want to support you, but I ain't trying to freaking invent the wheel to do it, right? Why this matters, right? Because then now the buyers, they can't easily participate, right? They can't, that's the problem. They can't fucking participate, right? The founders, right? Me, right? I couldn't get the people to buy the stuff, right? Even though they love me, right? Launch pads, right? They lose activity, right? Because people never figure out how to connect to it, right? Dexes lose volume, right? Because people never go there, right? Wallets lose users, right? Because people don't want to deal with that, right? Blockchains lose adoption, right? Crypto, period, right? So I say crypto has an extraction problem, dude. A big one, right? I encountered it and I want to fix it, right? The infrastructure exists, sure. Normal people just can't comfortably use it, right? So that's what I say, right? So the project experience, Nilla Gorilla, crypto access and safety tag. What are we going to do? How are we going to help you fix that, right? Tell Nilla what you want and Nilla finds the route, right? We're not technically a bridge. I'm going to be working with bridges and wallets and exchanges and dexes and all that things, right? And I'm going to figure out which ones make this transaction quickest for you, right? So user intent, you tell me, right? You tell me, Nilla, tell Nilla what you want in plain language, right? Step one, right? Step two, asset identification. I want KasKnight, right? In this example, I want Bitcoin maxi tiers, right? Nilla locates the asset, market, and best sources, right? Step three, Guardian's safety check, right? Now, this is that AI agent I got that I still got to fine tune, right? This will be the check, and then they'll check and make sure all those parameters are met. And it's not a honeypot, and so on and so forth, right? And then step four, route calculation. All right, so which exchange am I going to use? Which DEX am I going to use? Freaking who charges the least amount of fees? Which is quicker, more secure? Who's been hacked lately? All that stuff, right? Step five, review the transaction, right? Now I say, okay, I found the route that I think's the best, right? You review clear summary, how much it costs, how much you got to pay Nilla Gorilla. You got to pay like 50 cents or some shit, right? Right. And then, I'll tell you what the risks are. Like, of course, there's always risks, right? I'm dealing with a bridge that's not Nilla Gorilla, right? But they got a reputable, whatever. I'm gonna use the reputable one. But if they have a hack in the middle of the transaction, obviously that's not my fault or something like that, right? And then the route, what we're gonna use this bridge, this Dex, this wallet, and then come back to you, right? I'm gonna tell them everything we're gonna do, and then step six, wallet signature, right? An asset arrives. So you sign it. You say, all right, you know what? I think you vetted that pretty well. I agree with the process that you're going to take me through. I agree. Sign it, right? You sign in the wallet, and then I just go Nilla Gorilla, right? The DApp goes and executes the trade, right? And then tells you it's confirmed, got done data, right? When the asset arrives in your actual wallet. And I'll even have it to where eventually to where like if you don't have a wallet, right? you could you could download a wallet, right? If I get a partnership with like Casware or something like that, right? And here's the sample dialogue. User, right? Nilla, I want to buy $50 of my grandson's token, right? My grandson just launched a token and I want to be supportive, right? Nilla's like, I found it. Would you like me to run the Guardian safety check first? User, yes, please, right? Nilla, all right, here are the risks that I found, and here's what I could not verify. And so, based upon that, would you like to proceed and me to prepare the purchase, right? And then you say yes or no. And if you say yes, we go do it, right? Now, the whole point of this, so everybody doesn't have to learn anything about crypto, but you don't want to stop them from learning if they want to learn, right? So I'll have an education mode, right? It'll be just like ChatGPT. It might even be a ChatGPT wrapper, right? Large language model wrapper is put inside here, right? All right, and then you can ask questions just like you can ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever, right? You can say, what is slippage? What's a bridge? Why am I signing this thing, right? What's really going on behind the scenes, right? Explain this like I'm brand new, right? You don't want to force new users to learn crypto, right? But you also never want to stop them from learning it, right? Leave the option out there, right? The user does not need to understand the plumbing. The user should still understand what they're authorizing, though, right? Click this. I'm taking money. It's costing you money. I want to give you at least an example, idea of what you're doing, right? All right. So the architecture and security, right? AI should not be the money engine, right? We don't want to trust ChatGPT or any other uh, AI that we put in there, with everything. We don't want to be like, oh, AI made a mistake. There goes my money, right? So user request, you decide what you want to do, right? Nilla AI interprets the request and clarifies, right? Makes any clarifications they need, right? They structure the intent, right? They figure out, okay, this is what you want to do. How do we structure that? What does it do? What do the steps look like? The intent is converted into a structured, machine readable format, right? Because this is a machine, right? This is an app, right? It's not a person doing it. Nilla Gorilla is going to be coded, right? Step four, deterministic risk engine, routing engine, transaction layer, right? Rules, risk. I'll check the rules, risk checks, routing, all right? Policy, produce the optimal transaction plan, right? I'm gonna find the best route, right? I'm gonna find the best, least risky, right? And then I'm gonna review the wallet, right? The wallet review is gonna happen, right? Complete the transaction. Details are displayed for the user to review, right? I'm like, okay, everything set it. I set the stage, right? I'm gonna go onto Zealous Swap Dex, LFG Launchpad, and I'm gonna get Bitcoin Maxi Tiers, right? And then we're gonna use your Casware wallet to do it. Those are the routes I'm using, right? And then that's what I tell you, and you say, that sounds good, let's do it. And you approve, and then boom, back. AI can propose, software can construct, and the user authorizes, right? Clear separation of roles, ensures safety, transparency, and user sovereignty, right? You're never telling Nilla, here's my freaking money, right? You're saying, Nilla, help me go buy this shit so I don't got to learn a Dex and a launch pad and freaking all that crap. And then when you figure it out, you tell me how you're going to get it done. And I say, okay, that sounds good. And I do it, dude. Simple, easy peasy, right? Core principles is Nilla should be wallet agnostic, right? We should integrate existing wallets first, right? And so we can use we should be able to use several wallets, right? We don't want a single point of failure. All right, well, Cashware decided they don't want to mess with Nilla Gorilla no more, right? So now what? Now we got to build our own wallet? Maybe, right? But I don't want to deal with all that. I want to be able to use several, right? And then integrate existing wallet first, right? So the first step, right? The first minimal viable product is going to be freaking you swipe your credit card with Vanilla Gorilla, right? Because that just takes more rules and it's more red flags, and I'll get through those red flags and we'll get it up working and shit. But at first, it'll be someone like who knows a little bit more about crypto, and you just connect your Casware wallet, and then I'll go buy whatever shitcoin you want me to buy on Casware, right? Right? And then we'll integrate an existing DEX and liquidity, right? All right. We're not going to build our own wallet first. That's what I'm saying, right? Simplify without holding the transaction. We're going to make this shit simple, right? We're going to prove it works, right? Security principles are never request, or I'm never going to ask for your seed phrase, right? I'm never going to ask you to paste your private keys into the AI, right? So the AI doesn't know it, right? I'm never going to allow unrestricted wallet authority, right? You're never going to give Nilla Gorilla permission to do whatever I want with your wallet, right? Display transaction details before signing. I'm a clear transparent. I'm gonna show you like I showed you up there. This is what I'm gonna do before you do it. Are you sure? Yes. Click. Okay. Right. Minimize permissions. Right. I'm not gonna have permissions to do anything I don't need to do to conduct the freaking transaction or whatever you guys are asking Vanilla to do. Right. I don't need you to tell me your mother's maiden name so I can go buy the KasKnight tokens. Right. All right. Use audited components when possible, right? So I'm going to use other people's freaking security measures, right? That are already baked into their exchanges, their wallets, things like that. I won't bypass nothing like that, right? So yeah, dude. So, all right, this is getting exciting, right? So all right, so what's next, right? What's the roadmap, right? MVP one, MVP two, MVP three, MVP four, five, and six, right? We're gonna have 7 minimum viable products before we get from point A to the end product, right? To the badass like download this on Google Play Store, right? What does that look like, right? Build the first brick, then the stack wins, right? So what's one? MVP one is one wallet, one DEX, one asset plus one transaction, and I just prove it all works, right? Right? I don't got to have everything integrated, right? I just make sure that the app can perform the transaction seamlessly, right? And then MVP2, right? Asset discovery, searchable registry, and verified token lookup, right? So then I'll be able to be like, you won't just be able to buy KasKnight. You'll be able to buy, whatever tokens I put on the list that I figure that I can program this thing to pull off, right? MVP3, start routing, compare supported liquidity routes, right? Right? So it gets upgraded a little bit more, right? Each step is going to upgrade a little bit more, right? And BP4 Guardian, that's when I'll put the safety engine. That's when I'll add the vetting part, right? MVP5, right? This is when it'll become conversational, right? Ecosystem abstraction number 6, right? This is when I get the wallets and decks and bridges and additional networks going on. Maybe even use this on Ethereum sometime, right? They got the same problem we got, right? All right. MVP7, this is grandma mode. This is the one I'm talking about. This is the end product, right? This is where my grandma can buy crypto without learning fucking bridges and all that stuff. Dang, man, I wish I didn't cuss right there. You guys got to forgive me. I might have to put like a thing on YouTube saying I cussed in this one. Sorry, you guys, man. I'm working on it, right? Don't let your kids watch my Cast Night videos, right? For now. All right. So Cast Night Guardians of the Deck. So what? Why does this matter? Here's the flywheel, right? Product that creates users for the whole system, right? So let's go through the whole thing, right? The user, right? They discover what are the user benefits. User doesn't got to learn a bunch of crap, right? Project founder launches. I launch, right? The launch pad lists, markets, and converts, right? That's what the launch pads do. The decks, they provide liquidity, right? The wallet stores and sends and interacts. These are all people working together, right? In the Nilla Gorilla ecosystem flywheel, right? Blockchain Kaspa secures and settles everything, right? So I don't take the security away from Kaspa, right? I don't take control of nothing, right? And KasKnight guardians Nilla simplifies, educates, protects, right? So this is the flywheel. This is giving you an example like what happens, right? Who does what, right? I just help you do all this stuff, right? The launchpad does this stuff, the Dex does this, the wallet does this, Kaspa keeps everything secure, right? And I just help you figure it all out without having to learn everything, right? Partner value, right? For founders, right? I'm easier onboarding for supporters, obviously, right? Right. So, I help. How it helps me, I get to help my users use crypto easier, right? Launchpads, how am I helping the launchpad? Because I'm not asking every time when I call up the launchpad and say, "Hey, bro, check it out. I've made Vanilla Gorilla." I'm not saying help me make Vanilla Gorilla better. I'm saying, yeah, a little bit, but help me help you, right? I'm gonna bring easier buyer conversion, right? I'm gonna bring more buyers, right? If somebody downloads Vanilla Grill and says, "Hey, I want to go buy Bitcoin Maxi Tiers," right? But I don't want to learn how to use LFG, right? Launchpad or freaking or the Dex, right? Or the bridge, all that. I don't want to learn all that stuff, right? Then you download Vanilla Gorilla and I bring them to them and they get more customers, right? Dex is same thing, more volume and activity, right? Right? Somebody who normally wouldn't be able to figure out all them steps can now do it with Vanilla Gorilla. Now, somebody who would never actually give you their money because they couldn't figure it out for the Dex, right? Now they get more. Now they get more users, right? Wallet, same thing, right? Like a lot of people who are doing this stuff, right? My people, my uncle, my cousin, my aunt, they don't know what a crypto wallet is and what they need it for. Or they wouldn't go out and necessarily buy and download this wallet, right? Because they don't use crypto, right? But if now they want to because they want to buy some KasKnight tokens because they know, man, my cousin's a smart motherfucker. When he talks about this stuff, he sounds like he's very passionate about it, and I believe him. I know his whole life, anytime this motherfucker's been this passionate about something, he's 10-0, right? I'm gonna go ahead and get in early, right? So, but I don't want to learn all this crap, right? So I'm gonna use Vanilla Gorilla app, right? And it's gonna do it for me, right? We're not building another Dex, right? We're building the access layer that makes the ecosystem easier to use, right? Right? The character makes the product memorable. The technology makes it useful, right? The character's awesome. It looks cool, right? KasKnight's awesome. He makes cool videos. He's kind of funny, right? Right. And this wrap it up. KasKnight, Guardians of the Dag, advisory collaboration brief. So this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying for you guys out there, right? Right. The ask. What am I asking? Sanity check the architecture. Like if I'm asking for partners, what I want you guys to do, I want you to make sure I'm not fully crap, right? Sanity check everything. Make sure this is doable, right? Identify what should be AI versus the deterministic software, right? I need someone to help me figure that out. I need to identify near-term buildable pieces, right? What can I put together immediately, right? Challenges and weak assumptions, right? Am I making some assumptions that am I overestimating my what I can pull off here, right? And I help to and help to define the path to MVP one. That's what I'm working on actually right now, dude. I figured out the app that I'm going to use to build the first MVP, right? Already and stuff like that, right? All right. And then what are the key technical issues, right? Which wallets expose usable APIs, right? Which wallet like Casware, do they have APIs? That means public permissions, basically, right? For people building stuff like this, what do you allow people to have access to that's not just a user trying to use your stuff, right? Which dexes expose quotes or routing, right? It's just information that I need to figure out which one of these dexes uh, uh, expose certain things that I can look at so I can decide how I integrate with them and stuff like that. How does wallet signing work, right? I need to figure that out because I've never built an app that lets you connect your wallet and sign, so I'll figure that out, right? All right. What market index or data is available, right? I need to figure that out. All right. All right. What part of this needs to have a smart contract attached to it, and what part can we do? Can we manage without it? All right. What part do I need to? Are we gonna have some audits, right? And pull some experts in. What parts need to be audited regularly and make sure I'm not messing nothing up, right? How should permissions and logins work, right? So how do I do that, right? And there's some new Caspa stuff where you actually log in with your wallet, right? You use your instead of Google. I covered it in one of the ecosystem videos, right? Maybe we'll use that, right? Shout out to y'all, right? Can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry, right? All right. And how do we keep AI constrained and safe, right? Obviously, you don't want the AI having too much control over crap, right? If the case it hallucinates stuff like that, right? All right. And So yeah. So that's it. That's it, guys. Right. So that's what I'm trying to build. Right. Vanilla Gorilla, right? Vanilla Gorilla, right? That was one of the purposes. It's not just a white monkey that looks cool, right? How badass is that, right? So, um, I don't know. I don't know. What else to say? What do you guys think, man? Give me some feedback. Hit me up in the comments if you're, you know, because when I'm saying I'm looking for collaborators, I don't want you guys out there thinking I need you to, come build my project for me, right? I'm trying to build something that can make the existing ecosystem work for normal people, right? That, to actually use, right? Right. If we do this right, everybody benefits. Everybody benefits, right? Right? Dexes. I help Dexes reduce the friction between I want that token and the actual swap, right? Easier access can mean more users for you, more trades, more volume, more liquidity, more activity. I'm helping you. Help me, help you, help me, right? Wallets, right? To the wallet guys out there, right? I help the wallets by bringing in people who might otherwise never make it through the onboarding process, right? And then helping those users actually do more with the wallet once they're there, right? Well, all right. So that's how I'm helping wallet. How am I helping bridges, right? Right. I help bridges by making cross-chain movement understandable to people who don't know what a bridge is, right? They don't know which route to use or why they even need one. The bridge does the work for them, right? Nilla helps the user get there, right? Okay, how do I help the launch pads? The launch pads, the token projects, right? I help the launch pads and the founders turn interest into actual participation, right? Right? Instead of telling somebody to go learn 6 pieces of infrastructure before they can buy, we shorten that path, right? All right, Kaspa itself, all right. As for Kaspa, right, the whole point is accessibility and adoption. Well, I'm helping Kaspa, right? That's the big plan. That's the big picture, right? Better infrastructure doesn't matter if ordinary people can't freaking comfortably use it, right? That's truth, right? Right? And most importantly, the users, right? That's who I'm helping the most, right? The user gets simpler path, right? Without us hiding the transaction or taking control away from them, right? So I'm not trying to replace the dexes, the wallets, the bridges, or the launch pads, none of that, right? I'm trying to become the layer that helps more people reach them, right? I'm not asking you to help me win. I'm asking whether we could build something that helps all of us win together, right? Let's elevate and grow together. Caspians, KasKnight fans, right? Let's freaking do it, right? All right, so I'm next thing I'm gonna do is the ecosystem deep dive. We're gonna cover cron, and right, and then if anybody's over LFG, right? I did have a problem if I end up using LFG on Kaspa.com, right? I couldn't upload the image, man. That's literally the reason why I didn't launch KasKnight on LFG, right? Otherwise, we'd still be live, right? I actually like your guys' product, but it would I turned it into a JPEG, a GIF. I turned the picture into a GIF. The image, the KasKnight image. I just needed to upload the image to show them, hey, this is what KasKnight looks like. I did all the parameters. I set the tokenomics, all that stuff, right? Anyway, so we'll look at them again, right, and see if we can figure out that problem, and then go from there. Freaking cool, right? Yeah. Yeah, this is exciting, dude, right? So I took my lumps. What do? How do I respond? Let's fix it.
KasKnight
Right?
in the feet, cold wrist,
Fix that shit.
high leg, cold chain, no
Awesome,
cold,
baby.
new lane, full
KasKnight in the
spread.
house, y'all.
I watch the chart twitch.
Build something
While the
real,
G's
right?
shine.
And somewhere in
I
there,
was
we'll
on the
make the
back
KasKnight
end,
token with some
counting
little
up
bit
in
of
real
utility.
time. Wallet on lock,
Yeah,
keys
man.
tucked, no noise.
Right?
If it ain't built
NFTs
right,
with utility.
I don't hear those boys. Bot low, move slow, let the patience talk. They don't want fast fame. I want the whole vault. Tick, tick, hold that.
Yeah,
Let
man.
it breathe, let it grow.
God bless you guys, man. Thanks for supporting the channel, right? Look at some power caps. So let's look at render. Let's render this.
KasKnight, all in on the rise. KasKnight,
Daily.
KasKnight, CT it in my eyes. Stack high, stay tight, never fold, never hide. KasKnight, we gon' ride, we gon' ride. Talk cheap, blink fast, I don't miss that. I seen wolves smile with a borrowed act. Paper hands fold when the storm get loud. I was in the deep end, head above the crowd. Legend got scars, every line earned. Every loss taught me how the fire burns. Now the name ring out like a clean heart strike. One play, one chain, and the whole game like tick, tick, hold up. Let it breathe, let it grow. One move and snap, And no room, no. KasKnight, all in on the
Yeah, man.
rise.
We ain't playing, dog. Representing Kaspa. Just getting started, y'all. God bless you guys. KasKnight out.